Hello everyone and welcome back to another Jurassic World Evolution 3 video where we're not going to be talking about this footage here, which was released by Frontier, of a little tour showing off some of the park that they built on the Japanese map, which is great and all, but I thought we'd take this time to talk about Jurassic World Rebirth, and how, now having seen the film, I think I can get a fair idea of some of the stuff that would be able to be included in a Rebirth expansion for Jurassic World Evolution 3. So this video is going to contain spoilers, as well as like a little quick review that I'd like to say without having to make a separate video, because it is going to be quick. But there are going to be serious spoilers in here for the film, so if you haven't seen the film and don't want to be spoiled, I recommend clicking off now and go and watching it, so that you can be all caught up and understand a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about. But other than that, I think we should get into it and let's talk what a Rebirth expansion could bring to Jurassic World Evolution 3. So first of all, I'd like to give my review. So Jurassic World Rebirth, I had fun with the film. I thought it was a great little story, playing out with some pretty good characters. I think they're some of the better characters that we've had since the original Jurassic Park films. I enjoyed their time on screen. The family, I really liked. The main characters, Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey. I like Jonathan Bailey's character in particular, and Duncan Kincaid, played by Mahershala Ali. So their characters were pretty good. The dinosaurs, I really enjoyed the T-Rex river raft scene. The mosasaurs and the spinosaurs were pretty cool. The Titanosaurus scene was beautiful. And several other species appearances that happened, that we're going to go over in this video. Overall, I think it was just a solid entry. Like, it doesn't do anything necessarily to set up a sequel, or doesn't go beyond the confines of its plot. And like, if you're looking for some lore heavy stuff, you're not necessarily going to get that in Jurassic World Rebirth, but you're going to have a fun time, and I think that's all that you should really be looking for with a movie, is an enjoyable time where your money's been somewhat well spent. So yeah, that's just my quick review. Distortus Rex was cool. Mutadons were cool. Yeah, and of course they are actually hybrids, mutated hybrids that is, but they are actually hybrids because the arm was being used to test species combinations to make hybrids. So even though I think it's a little bit after Scorpius Rex's creation, they're just sort of throwing things in the into the blender just to see what comes out at the end. And yeah, that's basically my interpretation of it. But with that out of the way, let's get into what I think the DLC could contain. First of all, of course, is the Distortus Rex. So we're going to talk new species first, then variants, then skins. So Distortus Rex was a very unique creature in the film. Has, of course, 6 limbs, only 4 of which are on the ground. So it's easily going to have perhaps the most unique rig out of the entire game for a long time, I would say. So it is a predator. It will eat meat. And it is colossal. Like, it is about as big as probably an Apatosaurus, if not bigger. Or at least taller. Yeah, it has a very interesting design. I think some skins could really make some of the aspects of this animal shine pretty well. But yeah, there's all sorts of other things that could be happening. So its kill animation for guests could mimic how it killed Martin Krebs in the film. There's also another animation I'll talk about a little bit later. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see it fight, because it didn't actually fight anything in the game, in the movie. So it would be interesting to see how it would fight and how it would fare, because it doesn't necessarily seem like a strong fighter, necessarily. Like, it's able to grasp and stuff, and obviously has a bit of strength, but it doesn't really seem like an animal that's built to fight, more so than just a animal trying to survive in the form that it is in. So I don't know whether it would actually stand a decent chance against anything. It would probably be similar to the sauropods, but be able to probably slash and bite somewhat. But other than that, I don't know necessarily what else it could do. It's fairly slow, so it's not a very fast animal. So don't expect it to be galloping at full pelt through the park. So yeah. Next we have the Mutadon, one of the other hybrid mutants in the film. So these animals can of course fly with their wings. So yeah, they are technically, they would probably be created with a mix of Velociraptor and Pteranodon. And I would imagine they'd be released from the aviaries just because of that flying capability, and you'd want to keep them in. And now with the ability for aviary creatures to walk and I'd imagine run on the ground, the Mutadon would probably be able to do that. And I hope it would be able to alternate between walking on, like probably moving fast on its hind legs, and then when it's slowly moving, it would have its wings on the ground, similar to a pterosaur in that regard. It's fairly large, so probably about the same size as a pteranodon, I would say, if not a little bit larger. It does body a velociraptor, so it's easily stronger than a raptor, and given it does interact with people and interact with dinosaurs, it should be a very versatile animal to see interacting with others in the game. So I only noticed that it had just one skin between the two individuals that you see in the film. So we're just covering one skin, two animals. So with it and the Distortus Rex, I imagine they wouldn't be able to breed. They'd just be individuals that are released, because hybrids inherently are not very good at breeding. So I don't expect the Mutadon nor the Distortus Rex to be capable of it. It would be cool to see babies for the hybrids, and and possibly male and female variation perhaps, but other than that I don't know much else that could be done with that. Distortus Rex, I'm not sure how you're going to be able to create that, whether it's T-Rex and Titanosaurus just as a way to make it, not sure. But yeah, Mutadon is going to be cool when it comes in. Now on to actual species, we have Titanosaurus. Despite being a dubious animal in real life, the Titanosaurus is easily my favourite new species from the film. It was just so beautiful in its scene, and honestly has just one of the best designs of any dinosaur, I would say, in the franchise. With a bulbous nasal area, the sails that could be raised on its neck and down at the base of the tail, the long whip-like tail that carries on all the way up and is able to actually go up to the head. It's just so long. And that, yeah, they are massive. So I would say probably bigger than the Dreadnoughtus in the game. Possibly a similar height to the Mamenchisaurus, but of course a lot bigger and bulkier. The pattern is of course very cool, and we do technically see males and females. So the male being much larger, and I'd say having a much more pronounced sail, and a much larger, bigger stripes in its patterning. That's how I'd say you could differentiate them. But yeah, I think if we do get sauropods able to fight in Jurassic World Evolution 3, I'd really be interested in seeing how Titanosaurus would fight against others. And our fourth new species, and honestly I feel like if they were to stick to the formula of the expansions in the previous game, 4 species would probably be the max. And these are technically the 4 new species that you spend the most time with the fourth being of course Aqualops, with Dolores being the focal point for this species in the movie. So it's about the same size as Microceratus and isn't really too different to Microceratus, other than of course having a much more exciting pattern, I would say, with the tail and also the short horns that it has, one protruding from the beak and another just above it. But it's a very cute little animal. I don't know whether Dolores was supposed to be a juvenile or an adult, because like Jurassic World the game has actually just revealed its Aqualops model, and it actually has quills on it. So potentially, Frontier could give an adult Aqualops with quills on it, or potentially just make that the male. The male Aqualops has quills, and the female doesn't, and that's how you get Dolores in this regard. So that would be a good way to do it. I don't expect it to do necessarily too much, but if Dolores is a juvenile, Dolores would be the juvenile model, perhaps, or I mean, I imagine you could make it smaller, but yeah, it's a confusing case because Aqualops probably was about the size that Dolores is. So yeah, I'd say Dolores is an adult female. That will be the female model, and the male can have quills. Now on to another new species. Now, with Dominion, we had tons of new species. I think probably 11, I would say, new species were added in Dominion, but we didn't get all of them all in one go. But honestly, I would see these more being similar to the Camp Cretaceous species that were remaining, and they're added in later DLCs after the main Rebirth one. So the first species is Anuregnathus. So Anuregnathus is a small Anuregnathed pterosaur from the Jurassic period. It's very small, like it's about the same size as Jailopterus, as it is also in the same family. You don't see it very long in the film, like it shows up during the Quetzalcoatl sequence, and you don't really see it fly, but you can see its wings, of course. But given its diminutive size, I wouldn't say it's too difficult to implement. Like, you could probably, if Jailopterus makes it in, you could just use Jailopterus's rig for Anuregnathus, because they would probably behave fairly similar. But the 2027 skin would probably be green, like this one here. So this isn't exactly the model that you see, but it's pretty close. Like, you don't see it for long. So, but if you told me that was the official render for the Rebirth Anuregnathus, I'd probably believe you, because it does generally look like that. But yeah, if we were to get more than 4 species, Anuregnathus I feel like would be a fairly easy one to implement. Now on to the mystery amphibian. So there was a amphibian that appeared, I think, twice in the film. First time you see it, it's in a creek and just enters the river, but it's got a long snout, the classic giant salamander body with a paddle tail, but also has sort of a raised membrane that some salamanders have, and newts, like Danube crested newts, it has sort of that sort of structure on its back. But given its size and just the general proportions, I would hazard a guess and say that's probably Mastodonsaurus, which was a large crocodile-sized amphibian from the Triassic period. And it's sort of a mix between the Jurassic World Alive model and the level 40 Mastodonsaurus from Jurassic World the game. So it's sort of a mix between those two. So basically take the base of the Jurassic World Live Mastodonsaurus and a reduced scale of the Jurassic World the game one, and you've pretty much got the amphibian that we see. I would say it would be really cool if it is Mastodonsaurus, as it is probably one of my favorite prehistoric amphibians. But if it's not, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what it could be. I've thought maybe Oriops, which I'm pretty sure is from the Permian. But yeah, let me know what you think. And given that we have semi-aquatics in the game, I think Mastodonsaurus could work quite well. We also do see it climb in a tree. So that's in its second appearance. You see it in a dead tree climbing down back into the water. So it would be able to climb and swim. So it'd be a very interesting creature. Now onto the variants. The first variant, and possibly the most exciting, is the Spinosaurus. So the Spinosaurus appears twice, you could say, in the film. So it appears early on when the family's boat gets capsized by the Moser. You see their sails distract them in the distance before the Moser attacks. And then you see them, of course, in the main Mosasaur sequence with the main team in their boat when they attack. You see 4 Spinosaurus, and you do see what some people have said is a 5th, but I think it is actually the same individual, one of the same individuals that has a chunk missing out of its sail. But you've got 4 skins, so also I'll get to the 4 skins in a bit. In the Jeep ad, you see the Spinosaurus briefly move on all 4s, and that is actually replicated in the film. So the 5th Spino that you see, which I'm pretty sure is the same individual as the 4th, is resting on land, and when it goes into the water, it moves somewhat like a crocodile in that sense. But yeah, so that would probably be a good thing to see in the game, seeing it move quadrupedally there. Here we see the 4 skins. So the one in the front is the one with horizontal stripes going across the sail with a chunk missing out of the sail, and I'm pretty sure that is the same one that you see later. You have a Spinosaurus with vertical stripes. That is sort of like the main render that we see. The far left one in the back has horizontal stripes as well, but it has a complete sail, so there's no chunk missing out of it. And you also have a Spinosaurus with large, solid yellow stripes with barely any black on it at all. And that's, I'm pretty sure, the one that takes Atwater, Bobby Atwater in the film. So that one has some large, solid stripes. But this Spinosaurus wouldn't just move quadrupedally. Given this official render, it is capable of bipedal movement. So possibly when it's primarily on land, it can move bipedally. But then when it gets closer to the water, and in the water, coming out of the water, it moves on all 4s. So that could be how it works. It would certainly be possibly the most versatile of all the Spinosaurus that we have in the game. So like the one that we have right now, which is the JP3 one, does occasionally go on all 4s. So like when it was released in the hatchery, so charges out and then roars while on all 4 limbs. When it eats, it will put one forelimb on the ground and support itself. And I don't know if I think it does it drinking. I can't remember. But yeah, this one would be far more alternating between quadruped and biped. The second variant that we would get would be that of the Mosasaurus, which is about the same size as the one we have right now, but with a few more accurate like characteristics. So it has a tail fluke, similar to our current interpretations of Mosasaurus. It has sort of like a blubbery belly, similar to modern baleen whales. So it's even got the lines going along the bottom, similar to stuff like blue whales and humpbacks. And it has these bumps going down the spine, which I imagine are just like the tops of the vertebrae at the top there. So it is very different to the Jurassic World Mosasaurus, so it has a completely different coloration, and loses all the crocodilian aspects that the Jurassic World one has. And I'm really excited to see this Mosasaur in Jurassic World Evolution 3. Our third variant is the Quetzalcoatlus, which has a very different design to the Jurassic World Dominion one. And I will just mention here, at the start, they are in the museum and they have the skeletons of each of the species that they're going to go for. They do call the Quetz and the Mosasaurus dinosaurs. Even for a paleontologist like Henry Loomis, he doesn't even correct it. Because I'm pretty sure he's the one that says it. But they actually have the skeleton of the Quetzalcoatlus that they go to find on Isla St. Hubert. Which I find interesting, given the Dominion one's supposed to be the accurate one to the Jurassic universe. But hey, it's just a story, I guess. Like that's probably what the Rise were thinking. But we have a Quetz variant, which is very different to the Dominion one. It's smaller, with a more accurate wingspan of about 10 to 11 meters. Has a very exciting pattern, so I think we see both males and females. So the male has bright blue bands on him, and the female, I think, had a much more subtle appearance in comparison. It also has a very thick beak with a spike going back at the tip, and also has quills on the back of its head that it can raise, and when it's threatened, it does actually raise them. It also has pycnofibers, so it doesn't really have to change necessarily compared to the Dominion one in that sense. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see it in the game. And our last variant is the Jurassic World Rebirth Tyrannosaurus Rex. So even though the head isn't really too different to the current T-Rex that we know from the franchise, it would be a good opportunity to get an accurate in-gen head for a T-Rex in Evolution 3. But it is seriously a lot heftier, has a lot more muscle on it, and it's just a absolute unit of a dinosaur. And I would really love to see this T-Rex as a variant in Jurassic World Evolution 3, as I think it would just be so impressive. I'll also mention here that I think variants of dinosaurs that were previously scarred skins in Evolution 2, so Dominion Giga, Dominion Allo, they should have the scars removed on the base variant. So just remove the scars, just get rid of them. And the scars should just be kept to those specific skins that are meant to have them. So Giga would remove the clip on the lip, so that is just 1-to-1 on either side of the animal. The chunks missing out of its osteoderms on the back, those would be replaced by complete ones, and any scratches and scars that it has over it are just filled in. Same with the Allosaurus. So the Allosaurus is of course the same one from Battle of Big Rock. So it has a couple of scars on its snout, fill those in. It doesn't have a blind eye like it's supposed to in Chaos Theory and Battle at Big Rock, but you know, so no need to uncloud an eye. But yeah, and the same would go for this Rebirth T-Rex skin. So the Rebirth Rex does have a good few scars around its head, so those would have to be removed on the base variant. And hopefully, if Frontier sees this video, they will remove the scars on any of those skins, so that not every individual you hatch carries the same scars from the movie individuals. Now onto the skins. The first one we have is the Dilophosaurus, which on the surface does not look too different from the Dominion Dilophosaurus, but does have certainly a much more colourful frill. I love the spots, the bright yellow, the bright red. The green coloration's not too different to Dominion, although on the hands and feet there are a few red highlights I will mention there. But Dilophosaurus isn't seen for too long in the film, but it does get a nice little cameo. Next we have the Velociraptor skin. So Velociraptor lasts all of 20 seconds in the film, but it easily has a very beautiful design. I don't know whether to make this a variant, but theoretically it could piggyback onto a variant that's based around the JP3 Raptors. So I think InGen and Jurassic Park 3's Velociraptors should be made separate variants to the Jurassic World one. That way you can make more skins with those models. And on the JP3 variant, these Velociraptor skins from Rebirth could just go on to those. So we have a male here with a much more colourful face, but in the toys we do see there are two raptors in the film. The one that gets killed by the Musidon, I imagine, is the more colourful male, but we also see a more brown-orange raptor in the back. And in toys you see what this raptor is supposed to look like. So it's orange with a yellow underbelly, quills, and a black stripe going down the side of it. So that would possibly be the second skin that we get. And we also get a Compsognathus skin. So this one is possibly my favorite in the franchise, sort of mimicking a blue-legged dart frog, with the red being the dominant color on its skin. So it's a red compy with a blue underbelly and legs. You see them in the film. You also see them in the Jeep advert, which this shot is taken from here. And yeah, I'd say it's just warranting a skin. Like, it doesn't really change the compy in any way. I don't think we do have any other skins after this. Ankylosaurus does appear in the film, but it doesn't look too different to the Jurassic World one, so it doesn't really need a skin. Now, another animal that did make a surprise cameo, you could say, in the film is Dunkleosteus. So we, of course, have Dunkleosteus in Jurassic World Evolution 2, but at the start, when they're in what's supposed to be Paramaribo in Suriname, you see fishermen like releasing their catch from their nets, and this massive Dunkleosteus head drops out of it. So Dunkleosteus is canon to the franchise now, which is pretty cool. Easily the oldest animal that we'll probably see in the franchise for a long time. But it doesn't have too many differences to the Jurassic World Evolution one. Like, I mean, it does. Like the jaws, the serrated jaws, they look to be almost more tooth-like in a way, but they do carry a similar shape to, of course, what we know Dunkleosteus' jaws were shaped like. It has brighter eyes, probably a more rotund head, but it could be a good opportunity if Frontier wanted to include the Dunkleosteus as part of the pack in a variant sense or a skin. It could be a good opportunity to possibly give it a more accurate estimation, or at least a more accurate body proportion, so make it stouter. Although the head was still absolutely massive when put next to the fisherman, so it does have that colossal head that is much bigger than what we know Dunkleosteus' head was. So yeah, it would probably still be a similar size, I imagine. Now on to some of the other features. So, of course, we would get Ile St. Hubert as a map in Jurassic World Evolution 3 with this expansion. So I'm just curious as to whether, like, all these buildings would probably be able to be constructed from the modular building pieces, and probably just made as blueprints that are available to the player to use. What I'm most curious about, however, is would we be able to create the reservoir that separates the main facility from the ocean? Like, I would be really curious to see whether we'd be able to recreate a dam like this. It would be cool if we could. I'm just not sure. Like, it would be pretty nice if Frontier included that. A new vehicle skin would probably be included for the Ranger team to replicate the vehicles that we see on Ile St. Hubert. So the InGen, I don't know whether they're Jeeps or just or 4x4s or whatever they are. It's a car. I don't know cars very well, I'm sorry. But yeah, this InGen vehicle would probably be a Jeep skin, like the Biosyn one was for the Dominion Biosyn expansion. I'd also like to see temple pieces. So with the Quetzalcoatlus' nest, you see these temple pieces, this temple architecture around. And it goes all the way down from the Quetzalcoatlus' nest, all the way down to the ground. So you see a bit more of this Mayan Aztec architecture. So it'd be pretty cool to see that brought into Jurassic World Evolution 3, because I know players would be able to create some really cool temple-themed areas with these pieces. So now we're going to go into some more creature-specific features. So I would like to see the Quet's nest able to be placed on a cliffside like it is in the film. So you're able to create a little cove in a cliffside, and the Quets can fly up and land in that nest. That would be really nice. What also is important is to allow a way for Spinosaurus and Mosasaurus to interact and be able to swim alongside one another in the same body of water. Like, it's seen in the film. We have to get that in Jurassic World Evolution 3 somehow. Like, would the Rebirth Spinos be able to enter the lagoon somehow? Would we be able to create sort of a null barrier to the lagoon that isn't so steep from the water, so it makes natural lagoons easier to create and blend with the surrounding land? And that way the Spinosaurus can recognize the lagoon as a possible swimming space and be able to interact with the Mosasaurus in that way. Don't know whether this should be kept to the Rebirth variant, but the T-Rex should be given semi-aquatic behaviors, so be able to swim in water, submerge itself, and basically just be able to feed in the water perhaps as well. But giving it the ability to swim is just an important thing for the Rebirth Rex. One behavior I'd like to see, not just for the Mosasaurus, but also for other species, other lagoon species in the game, is a breaching behavior. So we see the Mosasaurus breach several times in Rebirth. So I think it would be really nice to just see it breach similar to a whale. Like this shot here is the Mosasaurus breaching much like a humpback whale would. Of course, much bigger than any humpback that's alive today. But I would just love to see it, because it would be just a magnificent display of power and grace from such a massive animal. And the last feature revolves around the two hybrids, the D-Rex and the Mutadon, and that's them able to attack helicopters. So Mutadon, given it can fly, would inherently be able to attack the helicopters. But when it comes to the D-Rex, it would be really cool if, like, the ACU team was trying to trank the D-Rex and it just reached up, grabbed it with a hand and brought it down and into its mouth, because in the film you see the D-Rex actually take out the rescue helicopter. And yeah, it's pretty terrifying that an animal of this size was just able to absolutely take down and destroy a helicopter. So that would be really cool to see in the game. Would certainly make the D-Rex a more formidable creature that you'd have in your park. But yeah, other than that, I don't think we have many more features to talk about. So that is the Rebirth expansion, or at least an idea for one. Of course, Frontier would probably create their own campaign mission revolving around the island. So what we do there is up to them, really. Whether we build a park, which I hope we don't. I hope we just do more of a facility. Like maybe try to capture the D-Rex or something. And try to sort of fix the island in a way. Like remove like these mutated hybrids and just leave the island to like the dinosaurs. Or perhaps even be able to just take the dinosaurs. Or do what they do in the film and go to the island to grab DNA. And you don't just grab it from the biggest animals from land, air and sea. You also grab it from the mutants, like the hybrids, just to get them in the genome library. I could see it being as simple as that. But let me know what your thoughts are on a Rebirth expansion. What would you include in it? If you've gotten this far, you've clearly seen the spoilers. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on a Rebirth expansion. Let me know your thoughts on Jurassic World Rebirth as a whole, and what you would like to see in Jurassic World Evolution 3 after the release of this film. And as for the video, that's all, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.